All right, item 13, we have the Harder Specific Plan presented by Mr. Ben Moody, our Development Services Director.
All right, so good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. So the item before you is a longstanding project and has some recent history with a special workshop that we had with the council and with the Planning Commission recently. And so tonight, it's really the that coming together. And so tonight, it's from the Planning Commission, from that workshop, and then the work that's been ongoing with the Harder Group. It's coming tonight before you in a two-part process where some of the ordinance are going to be introduced and adopt next time with some of the findings for tonight. And so you'll see this back before you at the next meeting with the second part to it. So bear with me. I'm going to, with the past work and the workshop, I'm going to do a high-level review, but definitely be happy to get into any specifics that the council wants during it. And then also just to note that the Harder Group and the Harder team is here and their representatives to help answer any questions about the project that you may have. So tonight, really what we're doing is a cleanup and some small modifications to the land use that's changed since this was originally developed in 2004. And so this project, the Harder, it's been really going on since the late 90s, early 2000s with the Home Depot project, with the Walmart project, and then as it's changed over time to address the Sierra Central and the park and different changes. And so the Harder Specific Plan, for the audience, it's the area bounded by State Route 20 on the south, Butte House Road on the north, the houses Terra Buena area to the west, and then you have Tharp Road on the east. It's approximately 200 acres. So there's a specific plan is one of the main items that we're dealing with tonight. And so the city has had a requirement that a specific plan, when you have a development this big, that it takes the city's general plan, which is very high level, and it gets down into the very specifics of what size roads, what size infrastructure, what are some of the design requirements, and it gets into that, and then the specific land uses and analyzes that through the environmental impact report that was done. And so with this action tonight, we're actually amending the specific plan to update it for those land uses to reflect what the current proposal is and some of the cleanup changes that have happened over the last 15, 17 years. And so complete development, as mentioned briefly, the Home Depot completed in 2001, Yuba City Marketplace, the Walmart Supercenter in 2006, and then a portion of the business park up with the Sierra Central in 2015. So the items that have been working on with this last update, specifically that we're considering over the next two meetings, have to do with extending the development agreement. And so the development agreement basically establishes a timeline as far as how long these entitlements are valid for. And so it updates the development agreement and then adds in a possible 5-year extensions to it. The development, it updates the credit and reimbursement agreement. It provides credits. It spells out and goes through the public financing plan, where there's a lot of work to identify fee credits that were applicable for city growth and road impacts that were city share versus Harder shares, and also consider the park. And then we have the remove some timing of the park development. In there, there was specific language that at a certain point with the residential development, the park had to be constructed. And so with the land being dedicated and the city receiving grant funds for that park, that timing is no longer applicable with the development, so we're cleaning that up. So key land changes, really in the scheme of things, what we're doing here is we're taking this area down here, which was originally programmed for commercial office, and we're changing that to commercial. And then we're updating the land use up here to reflect what was already been approved with the Sierra Central. That was original business light technology to be commercial office to reflect the church. And then we have some fine tuning of the map regarding the multifamily area, the road layout here along the south. But really that's at an overall high level, that's what we're doing. We're cleaning up the general plan, the specific plan land uses to match in the size of the park, the reflective water tower, to really clean that up from what it was proposed in 2004 to match what it currently is today. And then with the Planning Commission in April, we contingently approved the subdivision maps for the residential development here to the north, we call Harder North, and the residential development Harder South, and then the commercial parcel map that was about 19 plus acres into about 20 plus lots in here to be ready for development. So proposed development, existing compared to what's there, really it's some minor changes. I don't know if you could kind of see the swooping road and some minor changes to the park dimensions. It is one of the big changes in this office commercial area down here that's now proposed as regional commercial. Here's just for the audience, it's a draft exhibit of the park that's proposed to be issued to bid late summer, fall is my understanding. And so with this planning action, it reflects the park size and the layout. This is showing kind of the flex area in between the commercial with the parking lot and the bike path, how it's going to tie in with the park. So as briefly mentioned, at the at the Planning Commission meeting in April, contingently approved because the maps, with the development agreement being tied to the maps on how long those last, those were contingently approved at the Planning Commission. And so there was a residential development Harder North. There was 73 single-family homes on 14.1 acres and a 7.7 acre multifamily site, three parcels in this triangular area here. We had the Harder South, bounded by Ruth, and then Jefferson. That was 77 residential lots on 15.4 acres and one remainder lot. And then you have the Harder Marketplace, which is the commercial piece. That is about 19.4 acres with the 22 commercial lots, which would be directly across from Buffalo Wild Wings, McDonald's, and would cover this area here where you come out of the signal at Walmart, and then provide opportunities for development here. So tonight, what we're asking for is to conduct a public hearing and then approve recommendations A through E. And with that, there's the environmental. So with that, there was a full-blown EIR that was handled in 2004. And what we're saying that this is an addendum, that we're saying there's no substantial or significant impacts with these land use changes or with this project that warrant additional environmental analysis. So we're requesting for that finding. We're looking for you to adopt a resolution of the city to adopt a specific plan amendment. And then we're going to introduce the ordinance to the city council regarding the rezoning, and then introduce an uncodified ordinance of the city council regarding the development agreement. And then so next meeting, I'll come back before you regarding adopting these ordinances and then also discussing the reimbursement agreement. And so with that, I'd be happy to turn it over for questions or the Harder team.
Any questions of Ben before we invite the Harder folks to come up? Can you, again, just, I missed it. I know you flashed it up there. When was the initial Harder plan? What year was that? The very first one? 2004. Okay, thank you.
Correct. So 2004, and there's been obviously you had the Great Recession, and then as things changed it to adopt with this, and Harder and Tom could definitely add to it, the change in climate regarding just the need for office compared to today, and then the size of the commercial is different from that timeline.
I was just trying to go back 17 years ago. Any of your group like to speak? I knew you would.
Green button on. Good evening, council members and mayor, council members, staff, and audience. My name is Tom Tucker, business manager for the Harder Packing Company, 1321 Harder Parkway. First of all, I'd like to say I'm very excited to be here. It's been 2.5 years in the making. We've analyzed everything we could. We took in what neighbors wanted to see in the plan that butt up to us. We've reached out to them when we've had meetings with them. And so, like I said, my excitement level is just awesome that we can get this to completion and get some homes built in Yuba City. For this process required that we worked with staff, environmental, financial, legal, and engineering consultants to bring you a viable housing project. We did not take any shortcuts during this process over this 2.5 years. We analyzed things and went back and reanalyzed. I believe we can all agree here tonight that Yuba City is in need of additional homes. The home market in Yuba City, available homes, is small compared to other communities. It's just because there's not enough available lots for home builders to build homes on. This project will bring 330 residential units consisting of 150 R1 single-family homes and up to 180 of multifamily homes to Yuba City. I believe Yuba City is in a unique position in that the project will provide the city with housing that is ready to go with attractive nearby park, commercial opportunities that will create a live, work, and play environment. And that's pretty much what people desire, is a comfortable place to live, close by work opportunities, which we have the shopping center, and walking distance for the residents of the area that can walk to a restaurant to eat at night instead of having to hop in their car and drive somewhere. All these things can be obtained with the approval tonight. Building new housing requires a very heavy commitment to build new infrastructure, and without the commercial contributions that have been made to our project, we wouldn't be here tonight. Would not be feasible to build these. Commercial and Harder Packing Company has put significant funds in oversizing utilities for the future build out. Our next phase of development will provide $13 million in city infrastructure with an additional $2.4 million in soft costs. So you can see it's a significant investment. Harder has received strong interest in the commercial development fronting Harder Parkway and Highway 20 frontages. As Ben showed, we came to the city to change the zoning of 4 acres of office that backed up to the commercial because it didn't seem feasible, and in Yuba City there's an abundance of office space available. So that we didn't see that for many years out. It led to a more cohesive shopping center. We deleted some roads. We forced traffic away from Ruth Road and connecting roads for the residential. There was 4 inlets and egress and inlets out of the residential area in the south. We narrowed that to 2 so that people would not just take a shortcut through a subdivision to get to Harder Road. So we went and did our plan and changed that to benefit those people on Ruth, that people wouldn't be taking shortcuts through their neighborhoods. Harder has not received any inquiries as to the office land development. I said that's one of the driving reasons that we sought to change that, was that there was no interest and we saw that there was a surplus. We are committed, however, to office development along the Butte House corridor in the area of Sarah Central Credit Union. That plan, we haven't changed anything in that configuration between Harder Road, the former railroad track, Tharp Road, and Butte House. There's no changes on that. I'm available for any questions the council members or staff may have, and Before I do that, though, I would like to introduce you to our team of experts, and they are here tonight to answer any of your questions. Miss Christina Irwin with ESA Environmental, Mr. Jay Harris, our land use attorney with Pioneer Law Group, Mr. Mike Whipple, who prepared the public financing, development, and public financing plan for the project. A lot of work went into that. We wanted to make sure that the funding was there. So when we went, we had a plan that we could refer to and move forward with. Mr. Sean Harris, our engineer with MHM, unfortunately is not here tonight. Up till 4 o'clock today.
Sean Menard.
Sean Menard, excuse me.
He's not an engineer.
Mr. Sean Menard, our engineering is not, Mr. Sean Menard, our engineer with MHM Engineering, is not here tonight. Up till 4 o'clock, he's going to be here until I got a surprise call, and he said, it's my anniversary. I said, you better get your priorities or else you're going to have a cold dinner tonight. So I'm sure Diana or Ben, somebody from Public Works, can answer any questions that you might have on the infrastructure. So I'm available for any questions now, or if you want to continue with the meeting, I can come back and answer them again, or either after.
All right. How about council? Do you have any questions for Mr. Tucker or any of the members of his team? I think we're pretty familiar with your project.
I think you are too.
Okay, well,
Hopefully, I won't have to be appearing, but maybe one more time, and
that's okay.
We'll
Well,
have
you're
all-
always welcome, Tom.
all right. Thank you.
All right. I do have a couple of speaker cards on this before we do the public hearing. So I would invite Mary Page to comment.
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
So are you officially opening public hearing at this point?
I have on my cheat notes here, do we have any comments from the public? And then if I open the public hearing, I have comments from the public again. Would you rather me not go in that sequence?
Would you mind just opening the public hearing, then having the comment cards? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
So you don't want me right now?
Not, time out, hold on. It won't take long.
Okay.
Okay, the public hearing on the Harder specific plan is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. Do we have any comments from the public on this item? Ms. Page.
All right, good evening. My name's Mary Panerio Page, and I'd like to say, Mayor Boomgarden and Council, I live on Ruth Avenue. I've been in the community here for 45 years and 28 years on Ruth Avenue. And I can see there's been a lot of research and homework done that I'm behind the 2-year mark. But I did want to put out some talking points just because as it is right now, we've seen a lot of growth in the area and a lot of positive growth with the bike path. I think it's been one of the most positive things we've seen for recreation, especially with COVID. People were out there in force. I appreciate being able to walk around town. I don't always have to take my car. But I do have some talking points, and I'm sure you have some answers. And if not, we can find some together. But the intent of the Harder specific plan that I remember was always intended to be utilized for commercial and industrial development. And it had a limit to the single-family homes within 5 acres. And now it seems to be really increasing. I do agree we need homes in the area. I don't know if anyone has really looked between George Drive and Butte House Road, possibilities. So that's one talking point. Currently, we have a high traffic of homelessness in the area, and I don't know how the city plans to address the homelessness as we go along. I know the city parks have most of their bathrooms closed during the day. And I don't know how that's going to be monitored and facilitated as we go along, but I'm all for the park. Single-family homes off of Ruth Avenue, I don't know how large they're going to be, but most of the homes in the area are between around 600,000 to 1 million. And I don't know if this is an ideal place to place single-family homes and possibly changing property values. I don't know if anyone's done a traffic study to determine the impacts on all our roads in the neighborhoods. I know we do have people racing down Ruth Avenue frequently. And does the city of Yuba City have enough capacity, which we've been talking about tonight, for water and sewer to handle additional services for this specific plan? And last but not least, has there been an environmental impact report addressed with storm drainage and the effects of how it will impact the existing neighborhoods? So those are just some talking points that I have, living in the neighborhood for a long time. And I'd be happy to receive answers, if not tonight, at the next meeting. But I just wanted to share that and see maybe if there can be some contingencies of making it so it's a little more livable versus being so congested that there's just a lot going on in one neighborhood. Thank you.
You want to try to pick some of those off and some might need some follow-up? I was writing them down too, so.
Yeah, so please remind me if I missed any. And so just to highlight and start out for the group is that this plan was substantially complete in 2004. So it was done in 2004 where there was a full environmental analysis and review of all of the traffic for those land use types that analyzed the flow, the stormwater, everything about water, the water capacity, the parks, the open space that went into that specific plan that nailed that down. And so to highlight, there's the single family residential R1 has been in the plan since day one. So there's no changes tonight with the existing plan for the residential. So at any point in time, the Harder could have come in today and say, we want to process our subdivision map for the residential. And so with this, though, they decided to strategically group it together, come in with the parcel map, the land use changes, and update it all together to clean up some of those finance plans, reimbursement agreements, and the land use changes. But the residential has not changed since 2004. And so I just wanted to make sure I highlight that. And then Ruth Avenue, that's definitely a concern, Public Works and looking at traffic and being into that neighborhood and just how it affects it, where people are racing down Ruth Avenue and coming around. With this, there will be some homes that face Ruth Avenue. I believe there's 11, 12 homes that will be facing Ruth. And then there's going to be one inlet that now comes along this southern portion and then comes up. And so ultimately, staff, I feel that if this project helps move that issue going forward, because really, if you have cars racing around to come over here, now you have a bypass road that maybe they'll cut across over. And then this also helps facilitate the ultimate construction of Jefferson Avenue as we build this to the west. That's that connection point across, so they're not cutting across these neighborhood surface roads. And so that's with the residential has been the same. There's no changes to the residential with this project, except with some road alignments with the tentative map. The prices, really, the Harder Group could answer that. They are what we're starting to see as typical lots in Yuba City due to the construction prices, due to land values, due to what it costs in the formula to pencil out a house. But these are 55-foot wide by 112-foot lots. And so they're a higher density than what you've seen of the 80s and 90s, but that is really the norm and what pencils out now, and it's well within the city's general plan densities. Water sewer, definitely analyzed for capacity, and through this project with the Harder development, they actually dedicated the land for the Harder tank sites, and so we could add to that just depending on how specific we want to get.
A couple that Ms. Page brought up was the park. Is there restroom facilities in that park? I know some of our parks, we do not even include a restroom facility.
There is a proposed restroom facility with that park.
Okay. And a concern about the homeless, I will say that is probably a citywide issue, and that it is one of our priorities that we recently discussed as a council. So it's not specific to that particular area. Operate a business a little bit south of there. And I can tell you that, yeah, we've got some people, and I know the vice mayor does as well. And our police department is doing, And I think we're doing a little more investment with a homeless liaison officer, at least we're planning to go in that direction as well, to try to address some more of those homeless problems. Can't guarantee you a fix on that one, but it is certainly top of mind. I would say that there's probably a legitimate concern about restrooms. I know that's something that the city has historically taken a look at. So we may want to get together with Mr. McIntyre and talk about, limiting access to those during daylight hours or something like that, if that's not already in the plan.
Definitely verify.
Did we catch most of it?
I think you did.
Okay. Mr. Moody's always available if you think of something, please feel free to give him a call. He's a pretty easygoing guy. He'll get you the information for sure. All right. I also have a card from Heather Essman.
Hi, so I'm just too tall for this thing. Sorry about that. So Heather Essman again. I know that these are just basically the zoning and the plans. I was looking at the maps that you had, and I just wanted to encourage you not to jeopardize the bike path plan that I believe that I had this discussion with him a couple of years ago in that little senior. There was a tour that we did, and with Ms. Langley, and there was a small group, unfortunately, but there were a lively group, and discussed the park and the plan for the bicycles there. And just to remind you then, when you're making these decisions, you make the final decision, but you have to make sure not to just trust what the planning commission gives you, not to trust just what the city, and they're doing a great job, but to make sure that when you're doing that, that you really consider that there are bike paths on absolutely all the streets. I know there's certain rules that you have to abide by, but there's also some leeway. Since it's going to be a planned development, and you can make some demands, basically, to make sure that you remember, just south of this area, there is a high school, and once you've built this out, you're sure to have high school students who are walking or riding their bikes to school, and you want to make sure that everything that comes from that area where all the residents are, that goes down to that high school, that they have more than enough space so that we don't have any problems for the students to actually walk or ride their bicycles. Also, Pool Road there, that's not a bike path. It looks like a road. So it's not something where it actually connects to the bike path, but there may be people that are intending on using that. So I'm hoping that that also has enough leeway for bicyclists. Don't expect people here to share the road. I do have a bike, and they don't always do that. They like to honk at me if I'm taking too long. I'm sorry, I can't go any faster. And some of those roads only have about this much space between the line and gravel, which can also be a bit of a hazard. And to kind of counter what the gentleman said earlier, I live within the city limits, and for some weird and inexplicable reason, I only have a few minutes here, I can't explain it in more detail. I have sewer, but I do not have water. My neighbors all have water, but they do not have sewer. So I would prefer that my tax-paying money that I am paying through my property taxes, I vote for the bike path, not the water. So just so that, unfortunately, the lady's not here anymore, to kind of explain that the reason why you have an enterprise fund, the reason why you pay for water specifically, so that people who aren't using the water, they don't get charged for you using water, whereas my neighbors do not get charged for sewer because they don't have sewer. They were incorporated, so they all have those sewer. They're not actually hooked up to sewer. So I encourage you to always question that and double check, because on these maps, it's kind of hard to tell whether or not they actually have full space and markings for those bicycle paths. So, thank you.
Mr. Harris, did you want to talk about the bike paths and the plans for the bike path? I think that's part of your
It is, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. We don't really have anything concrete yet. We're working on a feasibility study, get that initiated at first. But I appreciate that support, and if you have any way to get a hold of me, I might need you and a few other people to, we need to create a Friends of the Bike Path organization, if you will, because not only does that help get the word out and get some usage up, but it also helps us a great deal when we go to apply for grant funding. If the folks who are writing the check know that the community is behind the project, and this isn't just for this little area right here. This is all the way, it's visioned all the way out and to Plumiston Bridge and beyond into Yuba County. But looking forward to getting some more progress in that. We are going to go out, from what my understanding, we're going to go to a RFP in about August or September, so we can get that ball rolling. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yep. I think I just wanted to make sure you understood that as a priority, this bike path thing is a big deal for us, and trying to make sure that bikes there. Also, the city's been really engaged with a project called Safe Routes to Schools, and our Public Works Department, in fact, a couple weeks ago, we just approved some more safe routes to schools. So I think your point about making sure folks can get across the highway to the school is a good one. Thank you. Mr. Burns.
So it appears to me that a lot of thought and care has gone into this, and I like the project, so I just wanted to say that. But I had a question, like Harder Packing Company, isn't that building vacant? And what's the plan for that building? Just curious.
Yes, please, Tom. Thank you.
Again, Tom Tucker, Harder Packing Company, 1321 Harder Road. As to Harder Packing Company, when the canning operations ceased to exist, I took it upon myself to find lessees, and we have numerous buildings. In those buildings, I have lessees that assemble motorcycles, another lessee that makes air cleaners and filters for motorcycles, also makes household HAVC filters. They got in bed with Amazon, and they're busting at the seams. They just increased their space. So I have, besides those two, I have NorCal RV and Boat Storage, owned by Harder Packing, the largest RV and boat storage between Sacramento and Redding, which is an indoor business, 3 warehouses full of it. Also, we have a truck repair shop, and we do have, what other businesses? Got me on the spot, but there's about 7 or 8 different businesses there. I'm totally leased out. It's an employment center. It employs people from the local community, and we're going to continue operations until it becomes more feasible. It's a huge infrastructure burden just for that industrial portion of the property, and it's an interim measure. Once we can finalize a plan or have a buyer or a user, we'll reconsider repurposing that facility. But it is viable nowadays, and it is a good producer for people's jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker.
Any other questions from the council?
He's nodding his head. I think he's good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Anybody online?
We do have one comment, or actually several questions from one individual, P. Ramirez. His questions are, will there be a commitment to utilize local hire? Will the contractor be required to provide worker health care? Will the contractor be required to pay area standard wages on this project? Will the project reinvest in education of the next generation by requiring the use of the state certified apprentices?
So nothing in the action, or I'll defer to the attorney.
And I'll go where Mr. Moody was going. Nothing in this action goes down to that level. This is not about construction. This is not about prevailing wage or standard wage or apprenticeships. This is about high-level planning documentation as to what you put in an area, like residential here, commercial here. So to the person online, that's not a question that's before us this evening. That would come at a later time, and a lot of that is up to the individual developer as to what they want to do.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney.
Nothing further.
Okay. Hearing no further comment on the issue, correct, counsel? Okay. Hearing no further comment on this issue, I'm closing the public hearing, bringing the matter back to the council for action.
Through the mayor,
Yes.
I'm going to give you the abbreviated version of this. I move that we adopt 13B, C, D, and E.
Second.
Through the mayor, if you wouldn't mind me reading the two ordinance items into the record so we don't have to read the full one, and I will do that now. That would be introduce an ordinance to the City Council of the City of Yuba City rezoning 1901 for the Harder specific plan located between State Route 20 on the south and Butte House Road on the north along the east and west sides of Harder Parkway, ends 5910-01 and 04, 62-310, 04, 09, 010, 011, 012, and 013, and waive the first reading. Item E, introduce an uncodified ordinance to the City Council of the City of Yuba City for the Second Amendment to the Development Agreement with Harder Packing Company and Brown Yuba City LLC relative to the development of the Harder specific plan, and waive the first reading. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's pretty good at that.
I'll take two of those.
Not wasting any time.
Thank you, Shannon. Did I get a second?
I second.
Okay, so I have a motion by the vice mayor, supported by the city attorney, seconded by councilperson Harris. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposite, any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. There you go.